Vin Smoke Sanji fans. We won.
Say his name one time. Say his full name. Let me hear you say it.
Mr. Pudding.
Oh, Ezekiel Elliott. Oh, man, when I think about that name, how sweet it is to be.
Mr. Pudding.
No, those aren't tears coming out of my eyes. I think it's raining inside of my house somewhere. Anyway, there are certain arguments that are weaved into the fabric of the One Piece community. You got Mihawk versus Shanks, which is the most legendary, I would say. Admirals versus Yonko. But at the very core of it all, the greatest is Zoro versus Sanji, because a lot of these things stem from that very argument. Now, honestly, the question of who's stronger isn't really a debate. We all know, or at least most of us know, that Zoro is stronger, but the argument lies in the gap. How much stronger is Zoro than Sanji? Is he even stronger? Are they equal? So by extension, you get a whole lot of semi-arguments within, like, is Sanji going to unlock conquerors? Now, for years, I've been subjected to torture from this fan base about the same stuff over and over. Does he have the qualities of a king? No, he's just simps. Simps can't be conquerors. He's a cook. He's not a fighter. He doesn't have to get conquerors. Haki Zoro has kingly ambitions and Sanji does not. No matter how much stuff we saw that debunked a lot of these points, they were still extremely loud. But as we come upon what seems to be all but confirmation that Sanji will be unlocking conquerors Haki, and very soon, I don't even feel a need to victory lap. I won't go back and pull up all of the tweets that I have bookmarked. I'm not gonna go find and screen cap the YouTube videos that doubted my prince. What I am going to do is allow you to live with your shame. I'm gonna allow you to live with the consequence of denying the undeniable, the embarrassment of dying on a hill that nobody wanted to kill you on. Sanji fans, I say this again, we won. I say all of that, but it's not exactly confirmed yet. It's like 99.99999% confirmed that Sanji will be unlocking Congress Haki. But this is how you know we got PTSD. Every time it felt like in the past where we was about to get something crazy, Oda would pull that rug. So right now I'm scarred. I'm still very sure, like I said, 99%, but I'm not eliminating that 0.00001% chance that there's a rug pull and he goes a different direction. All signs are pointing one way, but that's how you subvert your expectations and you break the hearts of millions. I need to learn how to undo this trauma because most fan bases get the chance to be delusional. We don't. We've had to live with a lot of crumbs, a lot of terrible character moments, a lot of bad writing decisions, a lot of bullshit over the course of the years when it comes to Sanji. And because of that, we have a really unhealthy relationship with expectations. But I think now it's time to finally let it all go. I'm going to tell that voice, hey bro, I'm having fun. Shut up for a second. Not delusion, is simply reading the story. So I'm gonna celebrate for a bit. So I wanna talk about Gabon's words specifically because this is obviously a Sanji related moment and chapter. Well, not the full chapter, but this moment in particular. The words ring true to a sentiment that I've kind of been pushing for years now. Your Haki is only as strong as your spirit, and therefore, Conqueror's Haki would obviously be intrinsically linked to your spirit and your willpower. With that being said, I noted in the past how it was never once confirmed that you actually had to be born with Conqueror's Haki. There are some people that are natural born conquerors, but that does not mean that to unlock Conqueror's Haki, you have to be born with it, because I believe personally that goes against the very idea of the theme of the series, which is chasing your dreams. If you're gonna make a story about chasing your dreams and having the willpower to go out and accomplish them, and then in the same breath have the very strongest ability in the story be locked behind birth, your circumstances of your birth, then it really goes against those themes to me. So I made videos in the past, and I'll probably pull them up on screen at some point so you can see I've always held this sentiment. And to see that also being confirmed is glorious to me, because it tells me that as much as we think Oda doesn't know what he's doing with Haki and the mistakes that we've perceived him to be making, he has a grander plan that he just simply cannot reveal certain stuff to us at some points, because if he does, it ruins some of the things that he has to keep away from us. If we would have known from the start that anybody could unlock Conqueror's Haki, they would have made Sanji unlocking Conqueror's Haki seem like a given. going forward. But when you keep it mysterious and you keep the circumstances around it really questionable, then it creates an idea of suspense. And then we have this moment, this payoff that really feels special. It's not the same. It's just telling you outright, anybody can unlock conquerors. They just have to have the willpower to do so. It doesn't hit the same. The problem also lies strongly in the misconception about what kingly ambition truly is. In my eyes, I think that Oda feels that kingly ambitions could have been something like wanting to be the best janitor in the world or the greatest math teacher. There's no disrespect to those professions. I'm literally a math teacher. But if you approach these dreams with the qualities of a king, with the ferocity and the drive, then at that point, you will unlock conqueror's haki trying to achieve your dream. And that's the difference. You don't have to be trying to be the world's strongest swordsman. You don't have to be trying to be the king of the pirates. You can simply just want to have a family, but approach that with the ferocity and the vigor that a king would. Conqueror's haki is not this catch-all, you got to be a bad edgelord to get. Nah, bro. The dream itself isn't what needs conquerors. It's the way that you go about accomplishing it. Someone like Sanji, who finds himself as the left hand of the Pirate King, is a no-brainer for conqueror's haki. But with that being said, I want to address other people that this kind of affects. Not only do I think that this is great for character writing in the story, but it also makes a lot of sense to go back and fix some things that the fan base has perceived as plot holes. Throughout the story, Luffy has run into some opponents that people thought it was really weird that he was able to beat them. We've heard the tales of Crocodile in the New World fighting Whitebeard, and maybe that's where he lost his hand, but just leaving a fight with Whitebeard, only losing your hand, is kind of a W. Moria fought Kaido, and though he lost, he still made it to Wano to fight someone as strong as Kaido, and he lived to tell the tale. And they lose to this young kid, Luffy, who has been on the seas for what seems to be just a few months. It really just does not make sense, but your haki is your willpower, and it's tied to you and your soul and your spirit. Crocodile is a man who had aspirations to become the king of the pirate. We saw this in the thing where I think it was Miss Golden Week, the one that was doing color traps. I cannot remember her name. I think it was Golden Week. I'm gonna just go with that. But either way, she kind of pulled Crocodile's greatest dream out, and it was a picture of him dressed like Roger as the Pirate King. Croc had those dreams, but he slinked away to Alabasta and started chasing after the ancient weapon and started scheming and making Baroque works after he took a big L. By extension, when your will is broken in that way, so will your haki, so will your access to your conqueror's haki and your armament haki. You're going to be a lot weaker when your spirit has been crushed. This just makes too much sense. Obviously, you want to wait for confirmation in the story, but I feel like a lot of One Piece fans have had this idea for a long time because it made the most sense. But there are some people that really do need things spoon-fed them, and I get it. When you read all these other manga, I think that one thing about Oda is he's like anti-Togashi when it comes to his world and how he exposes things, this exposition. Togashi is going to give it all to you straight up, and he might break some rules that he establishes later on, but those rules being broken will be a byproduct of him just expanding the world and the narrative. On the other hand, Oda is gonna drip feed it to you. I'm gonna give you this much information. I'm gonna keep it really vague because this is gonna be tied to something really important later on down the line that I really can't show my hand with. So we're going to tell you what we can right now, and we're going to unlock the information. It's kind of like a video game. You're progressing through it, and then you're unlocking the skill tree, and you're unlocking information later on down the line. I like both styles of writing. There is no right or wrong in this situation. I just think it's interesting to look at how two of the greatest writers in the medium approach stuff kind of on the opposite ends of the spectrum. But let's get back to that idea. Look at Moria. He went to Wano, he fought Kaido, and his entire crew was slaughtered. He slinks back to Thriller Bark with a whole bunch of zombies, and of course he's going to be a lot weaker than he was when he had the vigor and the humbug to go and be a strong pirate. When you're defeated outright, your will is broken, your spirit is broken, and your haki is going to get weakened. They ran into someone like Luffy, who has the greatest aspiration in the world, and he's not going to stop at anything to lose it. And the byproduct of that, I wouldn't be surprised if Luffy had subconsciously been using Conqueror's haki this whole time with some of his final attacks. I don't think he was using armament or observation, but I think that would have been the easiest thing for Luffy to just kind of naturally tap into. He's trying to take down Moria, some low-key Conqueror's coding on his final blow with him. Same thing with Crocodile, same thing with Enel. But I want to switch gears for a little bit, and I want to look back at Zoro. I felt that it was amazing in this chapter to see how confident Zoro was that Sanji was going to defeat Killingham. Because the read between the lines here, he's telling you himself that, hey, If Conqueror's Haki is the only way to defeat these people, and Sanji is going up to fight one of these guys that you're required to have it to defeat, I believe that Sanji has Conqueror's Haki. He said straight up he's going to kill him. He didn't say Sanji would just solve the problem. He said Sanji is going to kill Killingham. Kill Killingham. That's kind of funny, right? So that shows the utmost trust and respect that Zoro has for Sanji. Even if his fan base doesn't have it, we know that Zoro has it. But I do really like the sibling relationship they have and how they kind of feel like Luffy's two big brothers. They're literally Ace and Sabo for Luffy on his crew. And just as a quick aside, since I'm talking about Zoro, I do think that this interaction with whatever Maki is and these black flames that they're giving to the Holy Knights, that Imu is giving to the Holy Knights, is going to give Zoro some insight on unlocking a Black Blade, because I do think that with some of the ways that Mihawk was perceived to be not human by Zoro and Black Blades being permanently stained black, I think that these black flames are definitely going to be integral to the source of unlocking Maki and Zoro getting his power, because at the end of the day, Sanji unlocking Conqueror's Haki is a huge power boost for him. And it puts him, if not equal with Zoro, closer than he's ever been. I've always looked at it as if Luffy is a 10 out of 10, Zoro is like a 9, and Sanji is an 8.5 somewhere. And if Sanji gets Conqueror's Coding and Zoro doesn't get an upgrade, then Sanji is as close to a 9 as he's ever been. So I think Oda wants to keep it where Sanji is definitely not straight as strong as Zoro. He might be just slightly below, a hair below, but he won't ever be just purely equal to him. And the way that Oda can navigate that is, okay, now I'm giving Sanji Conqueror's Haki. Let me give Zoro his first Black Blade. And we're going to understand what exactly makes Black Blade so strong. It's not just the color, obviously. It's not just, if it's just Haki, then that's kind of boring to me, because if you can turn your blade black using regular armor and Haki, but you're just keeping it black, it's not really interesting to me. There has to be something special about a Black Blade in particular, outside of hardness too. There's a very special thing that comes from it. I think Maki will be involved in it. So Zoro is definitely going to get some really important power up here, and I can't wait to see that as well, because Oda is going to establish that little slight gap. Even if it's smaller than ever, it's going to have to be a gap, because that's just Zoro at the end of the day. I know it's corny, combat aspirations, or, you know what I'm saying, him wanting to be the world's strongest swordsman, he kind of has to be stronger than Sanji at some point, because he's striving to be the world's greatest combatant in some type of form, where Sanji is, at the end of the day, a chef. I'm not downplaying his importance for needing to be strong. I'm just stating the importance for Zoro to need to be amongst the greatest swordsmen of all time and just slightly ahead of Sanji. The Lakers just traded DeAndre Ayton. That has nothing to do with One Piece, but I just got a notification. I had to look down at my phone and talk about that. Regardless, I think it's really, I'm really excited for next week's chapter. I don't think we're going to get Luffy versus Imu done just quite yet, because it's obviously we got to handle, you can't have Luffy defeat Imu and still have Killingham and Summers running around. So we got to wrap that stuff up for those two first. So obviously I think we're going to go play the Wings, let the Wings get their things done next chapter. And I'm just really excited. I know a lot of people, a lot of my friends, when the spoilers came out, I was like, yo, Crow, there's one for you, boy. And I was like, oh, I'm excited. So finally, bro, One Piece, Oda, you have done miracles on me. I promise you, you've done miracles on me.